My daughter-in-law was banging on the door, screaming curses loud enough to wake the dead. I stood there, hands trembling, heart pounding in my chest like a drum. I had just changed the locks on my own house that morning. And now, the very woman who'd torn my family apart was outside, hollering my name like she owned the place. A few minutes later, my son showed up with a crowbar, furious, but what happened next left them both completely speechless. My name's Evelyn Brown, and I'm 54 years old. I've lived long enough to know that love can heal you, or it can break you in ways you never saw coming. If you are listening to this, please don't go anywhere. Like, subscribe, share, and comment, because this story right here, baby, it's one that'll make you question who you really trust. Now, back to that night. The sound of that crowbar clanging against my porch railing still rings in my ears. I remember standing in the hallway, barefoot, holding the knob so tight I could feel my pulse beating in my palm. Outside, my son shouted, "Mama, open the door. We just wanna talk." But that tone, sharp, mean, twisted with anger, that wasn't the voice of the little boy I raised. That was the voice of a man lost in somebody else's poison. His wife, Tasha, was pacing beside him on the porch, wild-eyed and slick-mouthed, spitting every curse she could think of. "You can't lock me out of my house, old woman," she yelled. My house. That word cut deep. Because it used to be her home too, until I saw what she'd done. I took a slow breath and whispered through the door, "You need to leave, both of you. This ain't the way." But I could hear the metal scrape, the crowbar hitting the side of the lock, and that's when I knew my son was serious. I stepped back, shaking my head. "Lord, please don't let this boy do something he can't undo." The next sound was the deadbolt giving way, snapping like a gunshot. The door swung open, and there they stood, rage and guilt standing side by side. My son, Marcus, was panting, chest heaving. His face looked older than his years, eyes bloodshot, jaw tight. Tasha pushed past him, her perfume mixing with the night air and my fear. She started pointing, waving her arms. "You think you can just throw me out, huh? After everything I've done for this family?" I stared at her. "After everything you've done to this family, you mean?" That stopped her cold. For a second, her eyes flickered, something nervous, almost guilty, but it disappeared quick. Marcus stepped between us. "Mama, don't start. You don't know the whole story." I folded my arms. "Oh, baby. I know more than you think. See, 2 nights before, I'd gone into my own guest room and found something that changed everything. A little black bag stuffed halfway under the bed, full of things that didn't belong to me, or anyone honest. Cash, jewelry, IDs that had other people's names on them, and one thing that made my stomach drop, my late husband's watch. The same watch Tasha swore she couldn't find after the burglary last year. When I confronted her the next morning, she laughed right in my face. "You think I'm stupid enough to steal from my own family," she said. I told her, "You already did, sweetheart. You stole my son." Marcus didn't believe me then. He thought I was overreacting, thought I was jealous of his new wife. But I wasn't jealous. I was terrified. Because I'd seen that look before, on my sister, right before her husband drained her bank account and vanished. That same mix of charm and coldness, of sweet words hiding sharp lies. So, I changed the locks. I told Marcus to give me a few days to clear my head. Instead, he came back with her, and a crowbar. Tasha was still ranting in my living room, pacing like she owned the floorboards. "You can't just put me out like some stranger, Evelyn. You think you're better than me?" Her voice was rising, trembling with fury and fear. And Marcus, my baby boy, he just stood there, looking between us like a man torn in half. "Marcus," I said softly, "I raised you better than this. You can stand there and let this woman break into my home?" He rubbed his forehead. "Mama, please. She said you threatened her. That you went through her things." I blinked. "Threatened her? Boy, I ain't threatened nobody. But if you don't start opening your eyes, she's gonna destroy you." Tasha scoffed. "Oh, please. You're just mad 'cause he picked me over you." That laugh, cold, cruel, like she enjoyed twisting the knife. And Marcus, he didn't defend me. He didn't say a word. The silence hit harder than her insults. It told me everything I needed to know. Finally, I said, "You two need to go. I don't want no scene. But I'm done being quiet." Tasha took a step closer. "You think you can just erase me? You think he's gonna pick you over his wife?" Then she turned to him, voice dripping with sweetness. "Baby, tell her. Tell her you ain't leaving me." But before he could speak, I reached behind me and pulled out the little black bag. I dropped it right on the floor between us. The sound of it hitting the hardwood was heavy, like truth landing where lies used to live. Marcus frowned. "What's that?" "Your wife's secrets," I said. "Go on, open it." Tasha's face drained of color. She took a quick step forward, but I blocked her. Marcus bent down, opened the bag, and when he saw what was inside, his whole body went still. He looked up at her slowly. "Tasha, what is this?" She stammered, "It's not, Marcus, it's not what it looks like." He pulled out the jewelry, the IDs, the cash. "Then what is it, her? You said you lost this watch." Her lip quivered. I was holding it for someone." "For who?" he snapped. The room went dead quiet. You could hear the clock ticking, loud and sharp. That was the moment I realized the storm had shifted. The rage in his eyes wasn't aimed at me anymore. Tasha started backing toward the door. "Marcus, I can explain. He cut her off. "No. You lied. You lied to both of us." I didn't say a word. I just stood there, my heart aching, watching the truth crack open right in front of him. He turned toward me, tears starting to form. "Mama. I'm so sorry." I nodded slowly. "You don't owe me sorry, baby. You just owe yourself the truth." Tasha spun around and ran out the door, heels clacking on the porch, screaming curses into the night. Her voice echoed down the street, wild and broken. Marcus followed her halfway to the curb, but then he stopped, like he finally realized chasing her would only drag him further down. He turned back to me, eyes full of guilt. I can't believe I didn't see it. I put my hand on his cheek. "Love makes fools of us all, son. But the Lord gives us moments like this to wake up." He nodded, shoulders trembling. "What do I do now?" I looked toward the dark yard where she'd disappeared. "You start by changing your locks again." Outside, the night went quiet. No more banging. No more screaming. Just the sound of my old wind chime whispering in the breeze, like the house itself was finally exhaling. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Because when Tasha left that night, she didn't just take her lies. She took something else. And I wouldn't realize it until it was far too late. It had been 3 days since that night on my porch, the night my daughter-in-law screamed curses at my door and my son nearly broke it down with a crowbar. The house was quiet now, but not peaceful. Silence can be cruel sometimes, you know? It don't comfort you, it taunts you. Every creak in the floor, every hum from the fridge felt like a whisper from something I didn't want to hear. Marcus hadn't gone back to his apartment. He'd been sleeping on my couch, restless, barely eating, staring off into nothing half the time. I could tell he was trying to make sense of it all. How the woman he swore was his forever had fooled him, fooled us both. He was sitting at the kitchen table that morning, his head in his hands, the coffee going cold. "Ma," he muttered, "she won't answer my calls. Won't text back. It's like she disappeared." I looked at him over the rim of my mug. "Sometimes silence is the answer, baby." He shook his head. "But I need closure. I need to know why she did all that." I wanted to tell him closure don't come when you go looking for it, it comes when you finally stop chasing lies. But I held my tongue. That's when the mail slid through the slot by the door. Just 2 envelopes. 1 bill, and 1 unmarked, pale yellow, no return address. Marcus tore it open before I could even stop him. His face went pale. Inside was a single photo. Him and Tasha, standing in front of a little cabin out by Lake Pine, arms around each other. But there was writing on the back, in red marker. "You should have trusted me. Now you'll see what happens when you don't." He looked up at me, his voice low. "She knows where we are." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He turned the picture around again, his finger trembling as he pointed to the background. the shape of my car parked in our driveway, clear as day in the reflection of a window. That photo was taken that night. After she left. I felt my stomach twist. Lord have mercy. Marcus started pacing. She's watching us, Ma. She's not done. I stood up and walked to the window, parting the curtain just a crack. The street looked quiet. No cars but ours, no movement but the wind. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling we weren't alone. That night, I told Marcus to get some rest, but he couldn't. He kept pacing, muttering under his breath. I should have seen it. I should have known. I sat on the couch, rubbing his shoulder. You can't fix crazy, baby. You can only protect yourself from it. He nodded, but his eyes were somewhere far away. I fell asleep around midnight. When I woke up, the house was dark, too dark. The streetlight outside usually glowed through my curtains, but that night it was black. I sat up, confused, and that's when I heard it, the back door latch click. Soft. Careful. Like someone trying not to wake me. My breath caught. I reached for my phone, my hands shaking so bad I nearly dropped it. Then Marcus's voice came from the hallway. Ma, you awake? I exhaled. Boy, don't you scare me like that. What are you doing? He looked pale, half awake. I thought I heard something outside. I was checking the yard. I frowned. Through the back door? He blinked like he didn't even realize he'd opened it. I don't know. Maybe I dreamed it. But I could see it in his eyes, the confusion, the fear. He wasn't lying. He just wasn't himself. The next morning, I found muddy footprints on the kitchen floor, leading from the back door to the living room. Small ones. Too small to be his. I froze. Marcus. I called out. He came stumbling from the bathroom, toothbrush still in his mouth. Look, I said, pointing. He bent down, staring at them. He swallowed hard. She was here. I whispered, or someone she sent. That whole day, I couldn't focus. Every little sound made me jump. The neighbor's dog barked, my heart raced. The wind knocked a branch against the window, I flinched. I kept telling myself maybe it was my imagination. But deep down, I knew better. Late afternoon, Marcus finally said he was going to drive over to Tasha's sister's place. Maybe she's there, he said. Maybe I can talk to her, get her to calm down. I told him no. I told him this wasn't his fight anymore. But he kissed my forehead and said, I can't rest till I know what she wants. Then he left. The house felt empty again. I stood by the window watching his taillights disappear, and for the first time in years, I prayed out loud. Lord, keep my son safe. Cause that woman's spirit ain't clean. When night fell, I made myself a cup of tea and sat in the den, trying to stay awake till Marcus got back. The clock ticked past 10, then 11. By midnight, he still wasn't home. I called his phone, no answer. By 1, I was pacing the same way he had the night before. Then I heard a noise, a soft thud, like something had fallen on the porch. I grabbed my robe and went to the door. When I opened it, my heart nearly stopped. There was a box sitting on the step. No name, no note, just wrapped in plain brown paper and tied with twine. I looked up and down the street. Nothing. The wind was cold, the kind that smells like rain and rust. I brought it inside, set it on the table, and stared at it for a long time. Every instinct in me screamed, don't open it. But I did. Inside was a single item, Marcus's wedding ring. Blood dried around the band. I screamed his name so loud I scared myself. Then I ran to the phone and called him again. Straight to voicemail. I called the police, my voice breaking. They told me to stay put. They'd send someone to check it out. Those minutes felt like hours. When the officer finally arrived, I was sitting on the floor clutching that ring in my hand. He asked where I'd found it. I told him everything, the threats, the photo, the footprints, the box. He took notes, calm and steady, like this was just another day at work. But when he asked, do you have any enemies, I almost laughed. Only one, I said. And I used to call her family. He promised they'd search for Marcus, told me to lock my doors and rest. Rest. How can a mother rest when her baby's out there with a woman like that? By dawn, I was sitting in the window again, eyes heavy but heart wide awake. That's when I saw it, a car parked across the street, black, engine running. I couldn't see the driver. Just the faint glow of a cigarette tip in the dark. And when the window rolled down, I caught a glimpse of red fingernails, and a smile. Tasha. I gasped, pulled the curtain shut, and grabbed the phone, but by the time I looked again, she was gone. Just taillights fading down the block. That morning, Marcus's phone pinged for the first time. One new message. From an unknown number. It said, "If you want to see him again, don't call the police." My knees buckled. I clutched the phone to my chest, whispering, "What did you do, Tasha? What did you do to my son?" When I got that message, "If you want to see him again, don't call the police," my whole body went cold. I just stood there in my kitchen, the morning light spilling across the floor, my hands shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. That was my son she was talking about. My baby. And I knew right then, this wasn't just about anger anymore. This was about control. About revenge. I sat down at the table and tried to think. My coffee had gone cold hours ago, but I kept holding the cup like it could anchor me. Every part of me wanted to call the police again, but that text, the threat, it played on repeat in my head. Tasha wasn't bluffing. I'd seen the darkness in her eyes before. The kind that smiles while it burns everything down. I took a breath and texted back. "Where is he?" No reply. Just those three little dots dancing for a second, then disappearing. Silence. I turned the phone over, set it on the table, and said to myself, "Okay, Evelyn. If she wanna play games, we'll play. But you can play smarter." So I started digging. First thing I did was call Marcus's best friend, Terence, the only person who ever told him the truth even when he didn't wanna hear it. He picked up quick. "Miss Evelyn? You okay? Marcus texted me last night, said he was meeting Tasha." My heart dropped. "He told you that?" "Yeah," Terence said. "Said she wanted to clear the air at some old cabin near the lake." I told him not to go, but you know Marcus, always trying to fix broken glass with his bare hands. That cabin. The same one from that photo she mailed us. My stomach twisted. "You know where it is?" "Yeah, but it's out past Pine Hollow. Kinda run down. I been there once for a fish fry years back. Ain't much left of it now." I didn't wait another second. "Text me the address," I said, grabbing my keys. He hesitated. "Miss Evelyn, you sure you should go alone?" "I ain't sure of nothing right now," I told him. But sitting still ain't helping. The drive out to Lake Pine was long and quiet. The road curved through miles of trees, the kind that seem to lean closer the further you go. Rain clouds were hanging low, heavy and gray, and every gust of wind made the branches groan like they were warning me to turn back. But a mother don't turn back when her child's in danger. Not ever. When I got close, I saw that old cabin, half-rotten wood, one broken window, paint peeled down to bare boards. Marcus's car wasn't there, but there were fresh tire tracks in the mud. I parked a little ways back, heart thumping in my throat, and stepped out slow. The air smelled like wet pine and rust. The ground squished under my shoes as I made my way to the door. When I pushed it open, it creaked like it hadn't been used in years. Inside was empty. No furniture, no sound, just dust, cobwebs, and the faint smell of perfume. Her perfume. Sweet, heavy, expensive. I walked deeper in, eyes scanning every shadow. Then I saw something on the table. A single Polaroid photo. It was Marcus, tied to a chair, his head hanging low, still wearing the same clothes he'd had on the night he left. On the bottom, written in red marker, "You should have believed her." I covered my mouth, tears spilling before I could stop them. That's when I heard it. A phone ringing. Not mine. From somewhere deeper in the cabin. I followed the sound, heart pounding. It was coming from a closet in the back. When I opened it, an old flip phone was sitting on a shelf, ringing. I answered. "Hello." A voice came through, low, familiar, smooth like silk but sharp as a blade. "Well, hey there, Miss Evelyn." "Tasha." My hands trembled. "Where's my son?" She chuckled softly. "Oh, he's safe, for now. But you, on the other hand, shouldn't be out here all alone." I looked around, scanning the shadows. "What do you want from us?" "What I always wanted," she said. "For you to stop meddling in what ain't your business." I clenched my jaw. "My son is my business." She laughed, that cold little laugh I'll never forget. "He was mine first." There was a long pause. I could hear the sound of water in the background on her end, a faint drip, drip, drip. Then she whispered, "You still think you know everything, don't you? You don't know half of what your precious Marcus been doing. I frowned. "What are you talking about?" She sighed. "Poor Mama Evelyn, always blammin' the wrong woman. You really think I kept all that money and jewelry for myself?" My heart skipped. "So you admit you stole it?" "Oh, baby," she said. "I didn't steal it. I hid it, from him." That stopped me cold. "What?" "He was the one who took it," she said quietly. "He just let you find it on me so you'd turn on me first. That boy learned from the best, didn't he?" I felt the floor tilt under me. "You lying. Marcus wouldn't." "Wouldn't what?" "Take from his own mama. You ever look at your bank account lately, Miss Evelyn?" Before I could answer, the line went dead. I stood there shaking, her words buzzing in my head like flies. I wanted to throw that phone, to scream, to call her bluff, but deep down, a tiny voice whispered, "What if she's telling the truth?" I pulled out my own phone, logged into my account right there in that dusty cabin. And my stomach dropped. 2 withdrawals. Both large. Both from the same week Marcus and Tasha got married. My hand flew to my mouth. No, he wouldn't. But the numbers didn't lie. 10,000 gone. Then another 15. Vanished. I stumbled out of the cabin, the world spinning. Rain started to fall, cold and heavy. I leaned against my car, breathing hard, whispering, "Lord, please don't let this be true." My phone buzzed again. Another text. This time, it was a video. It showed Marcus, sitting in that same chair, bruised, exhausted. He looked straight at the camera. "Ma, don't come looking for me. I did something bad. Real bad." Then the screen went black. I dropped the phone. My legs gave out. I just sat there in the mud, crying so hard it hurt to breathe. All those years I'd spent blaming her, and now I didn't know who the devil was anymore. By the time I made it home, night had fallen again. I locked every door, drew the curtains tight, and sat at the kitchen table staring at that photo from the cabin. Then I saw something I hadn't noticed before. In the corner of the picture, behind Marcus, was a mirror. And in the reflection, Tasha wasn't alone. Someone else was in the room with her. A man. And from the shape of his shoulders, I knew exactly who it was. Terence. The night had gone quiet again. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that creeps into your bones and whispers things you don't want to hear. I sat there on that same worn-out couch, staring at the door, my heart still beating to the rhythm of the memory from earlier, the pounding, the screaming, the crowbar scraping the paint. My name's still Gloria May, and I still don't know what to make of my own son. That boy I raised on prayer and struggle, now standing on my porch ready to bust through my door for a woman who disrespected me to my face. I couldn't sleep. Not after that. Every sound outside made me jump. The crickets, the cars passing, even the old tree branches tapping against the siding. But then I heard it again, soft this time. A whisper. "Miss Gloria, open up." My stomach turned. It was her. That voice, like honey dipped in venom, right outside my window. My daughter-in-law, Tasha. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. She whispered again, slower this time. "You think you won, huh? You think he yours again?" The hair on my arms stood up. I got up real slow, crept to the window, and peeked through the curtain. She was out there, barefoot, holding something shiny in her hand, a phone. The screen lit her face, and Lord help me, her eyes didn't look right. They were wide open, like she hadn't slept in days. She was talking into the phone, whispering to someone. "She changed the locks," she said. "Said it was her house." But he's mine. He don't even know what she's done yet. I couldn't hear the other voice, but she nodded, whispering again. Yeah. We'll do it tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. My knees got weak. My house suddenly felt smaller, the walls closing in. What was she planning? What was she dragging my son into? I stayed there, frozen, until she walked off into the darkness. The next morning, I called my sister, Ruby. Now Ruby's the kind who'll pray with one hand and swing with the other. I told her everything, every word, every whisper, every sound. She said, "Baby, you better not stay in that house alone tonight. That woman's dangerous." I knew Ruby was right. But I wasn't about to run. Not from my own house. That afternoon, I tried to keep myself busy, washed clothes, cooked a little stew, turned on some gospel just to have noise in the background. But when I went to take the trash out, I noticed something strange. The side gate was cracked open. I know I closed it. I always close it. When I looked down, there were boot prints, fresh ones, in the mud. My heart skipped. I looked toward the fence, and that's when I saw it. A small, black camera. Hidden right between the slats. Pointed straight at my back door. I stepped back, my hands shaking. Somebody had been watching me. I called my son. He didn't answer. I texted him. "Marcus, come home right now. It's important." No response. I drove to his job, but they said he'd called in sick. That's when the fear turned into something else, something hotter. Rage. I went back home, locked every window, checked under the beds like I used to when Marcus was a boy. Then I pulled out the little black box I kept under my bed. Inside was my old revolver, my husband's. I hadn't touched it in years, but that day, I cleaned it, loaded it, and laid it on the table beside my Bible. When the sun started going down, I lit a candle. I remember the flame flickering like it knew something I didn't. Then around 9 p.m., I got a text. It was from Marcus. "Mom, we need to talk. Don't do anything stupid." I stared at the screen, confused. "What you mean, baby?" I typed back. But before I could hit send, there was a knock at the door. Not loud. Just one knock. Then silence. I held my breath. Then another knock. Slow. Rhythmic. I crept to the door, my hand trembling over the knob. Who is it? Nothing. Who out there? Still nothing. Then I heard footsteps. And a man's voice. "Mama, it's me. Open up. Marcus." But when I looked through the peephole, he wasn't alone. Tasha was standing behind him, smiling. That same cruel smile I'd seen through the window last night. My heart started to race. I opened the door just a crack. "Marcus, what you doing here this late?" He didn't look right. His eyes were red, his jaw tight. "We need to talk, Ma. You've been saying things that ain't true. You got Tasha scared." "Scared?" I said, my voice breaking. "That girl out here threatening me, whispering outside my window, she planted a camera on my fence." Tasha gasped, hand over her mouth. "Lord, Miss Gloria, I don't know what you're talking about. A camera? Outside your house?" She was a good liar. Too good. I shook my head. "Don't you lie to me, girl. I saw you." Marcus turned to her. "Tasha, did you do that?" She started crying right there on my porch. "Baby, I would never. She hates me, Marcus. She want me gone." He looked back at me, confused, angry, lost. I could see it then. She'd already gotten to him. Whatever poison she'd been whispering, it was already sinking in. "Marcus, you know me," I said softly. "I changed the locks 'cause y'all disrespected me. That's all. I didn't mean no harm. But you need to look at your wife and ask her why she was out here last night talking to somebody on the phone, saying y'all had plans for tomorrow night." His face twitched. "What plans?" he asked her. Tasha froze. I don't know what she talking about." Then she stepped closer, eyes locking on mine. "You sure you ain't dreamt that, Miss Gloria? You know, at your age, sometimes it's hard to keep track of what's real." That did it. That tone. That smirk. I opened the door wider, stepped right up to her face. "Say that again." Before she could, I saw it, a shadow moving behind her car, something quick. Then a voice. "You might wanna come see this," it said. A man stepped out. Big, broad shoulders, bald head, phone in hand. He looked at me, then at Tasha. "You the homeowner?" he asked. I nodded, wary. He turned his phone toward me. I don't know what's going on here, but this your backyard, right?" On the screen was a live video feed, from a camera pointed at my back door. My stomach dropped. That's when Marcus finally saw it. His eyes went wide, and he turned to Tasha. "What the hell is this?" Tasha's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The man said, "She hired me to install it. Said it was her property. I didn't know she didn't own the house." Marcus's face went from confusion to fury. "Tasha." She backed away, stammering, I just wanted to make sure she wasn't throwing my stuff out." But I wasn't listening anymore. I could barely breathe. I'd been right. Every whisper, every shiver down my spine, it had all been real. Marcus stood there between us, his chest heaving. And that's when I said it, the same words I'd used for the thumbnail later on, because they summed up everything in that moment. My daughter-in-law was screaming and cursing outside my door. I had just changed the locks on my house. A few minutes later, my son showed up with a crowbar, furious, but what happened next left them both completely speechless. Marcus looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. And for the first time in years, I saw something in his eyes, doubt. He whispered, "What else you been hidden, Tasha?" She didn't answer. She just stared back at me, her face cold now. No more tears. That's when I realized, whatever was coming next, we hadn't reached the end. Not by a long shot. The morning after that mess on the porch, I woke up feeling like I hadn't slept in a month. My hands were still trembling from the night before, and my throat was dry from all that yelling. The house was quiet again, but not peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that comes after a storm, when you just know the sky ain't done rumbling yet. Marcus hadn't stayed. After that man showed him the camera footage, he didn't say another word to me. He just stared at Tasha like he was seeing a stranger. Then he turned around, told her to get in the car, and drove off. Didn't even look back. I should have felt relieved. Vindicated, maybe. But I didn't. My gut still twisted like something was missing from the story. See, when a woman like Tasha plays games like that, she ain't just trying to spy, she's trying to control. And if she could plant a camera on my fence without flinching, what else could she do? Around noon, I heard a knock. My sister Ruby again. She came in with a big pot of greens and a look that said, "I told you so." "Girl," she said, setting the pot down, "I been pryin' all night. The Lord don't like ugly, and that woman gon' fall in the trap she digged in." I nodded, stirring the pot with a wooden spoon just to keep from crying. "Ruby, what if Marcus still don't believe me? What if she talk her way out of it again?" Ruby sat down, folded her arms. "Then you let her talk. But while she talking, you find proof." That word, proof, echoed in my mind. After Ruby left, I walked through the house slow, touching walls, picture frames, memories. My husband, Charles, had built this place with his own hands. He used to say, "Everything you need to know about folks, Gloria, you'll find it when you stop looking for what they tell you and start looking where they hide things." And that's when it hit me, the attic. We hadn't been up there since Charles passed. But I remembered something. Tasha had been up there last year, saying she was helping Marcus find old photo albums. She'd spent a long time up there too. I grabbed the stepladder, climbed up, and pulled down the string. Dust fell like ashes. When I pushed the door open, a wave of stale air hit me, thick and musty. The attic was dark, full of boxes and old furniture covered with sheets. I turned on my phone flashlight and started looking around. After a few minutes, I spotted a cardboard box tucked behind a dresser. It had my name written on it, but not in my handwriting. I pulled it out, set it down, and opened it. Inside were stacks of papers, bank statements, mail, copies of my house deed, and some envelopes I'd never seen before. One had Marcus's name on it. Another had loan approval stamped across the top. My heart started pounding. I opened the loan envelope. The papers said my son's name and mine, joint application, but I'd never signed anything. And then I saw it. A signature that looked like mine, but it wasn't. My breath caught in my throat. Tasha had forged my name. The paper said she'd used my house as collateral for a private loan. Over $60,000. And the date was 3 months ago. I dropped the papers, shaking so bad I had to sit down. That's why she wanted the cameras. That's why she was watching me. She was trying to make sure I didn't find out before they took my house. I went through the rest of the box. More papers, fake letters, and then a small USB drive taped to the inside flap. Now, I might be old, but I ain't stupid. I plugged it into my laptop, and what I saw made my stomach turn. Videos. Dozens of them. Hidden camera footage from inside my house. The kitchen. The hallway. Even my bedroom. Each clip had a date and time. Some from when I was sleeping. Some from when I was on the phone talking to friends. And in the corner of every video, you could see her reflection in the background sometimes. Tasha. I covered my mouth, tears streaming. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. That's when the front door opened downstairs. Footsteps. I froze. Ma! It was Marcus's voice. I shut the laptop quick, wiped my face, and took a deep breath. Up here, baby. He climbed the ladder, looking tired and heavy like he hadn't slept either. Ma, we need to talk, he said. I nodded, keeping my voice calm. I was just about to say the same thing. He looked down at the box beside me. What's that? Something your wife left behind, I said. Why don't you take a look? He picked up the papers, started flipping through. I watched his face change from confusion to horror. What the? This can't be real. It's real, Marcus, I said softly. Every page. Every signature. Every lie. He dropped the papers, shaking his head. Why would she do this? She didn't just want me gone, I said. She wanted this house. Probably planned to sell it, take the money, and leave you broke. He sat down, his voice low. She told me you didn't trust her, 'cause she was trying to help with the bills. Said you'd hidden money from me. I looked him dead in the eyes. You believe that? He hesitated, then whispered, I did. That hurt more than any crowbar ever could. We sat there in silence for a long time. Then I opened the laptop and showed him the footage. He watched, quiet at first, then his jaw tightened. When he saw the clip of her placing a small camera in the kitchen vent, he whispered, oh my God. He stood up, pacing. I can't believe this. She's been watching you. Us. She's been playing both sides, I said. And now she's trapped herself. He turned to me, tears welling up. I'm so sorry, Ma. I should have known. I let her twist me up against you. I put my hand on his arm. What matters now is what you do next. He nodded, eyes burning with anger. I'm gonna confront her. Tonight. I looked at him, my baby boy, all grown, standing there with his father's same fire in his eyes. But deep down, I felt a shiver. Confrontation wasn't enough. Not with a woman like Tasha. Because Tasha didn't lose quietly. Before he left, I told him one thing. Marcus, whatever happens, don't let her see fear in you. That's how she wins. He nodded and walked out. As soon as he was gone, I looked back at that laptop. One last video file caught my eye, dated the day before yesterday. I clicked it. It showed Tasha in my kitchen, whispering on the phone again. He won't know till it's done. She's gonna lose the house, and he'll have no choice but to move in with me. Once it's sold, we'll split the rest. Then she paused, listening, and said, yeah, tomorrow night. I'll bring the papers. That was tonight. I closed the laptop, my pulse racing. It wasn't over. Not even close. Tasha was still coming. And this time, I'd be ready. If you're still listening right now, please like, subscribe, and share, and drop your birth year in the comments. If we're the same age, I've got a little surprise waiting for you there. Because baby, the next part of this story, it's the kind that'll make you check every lock in your house twice before you sleep. The night had that heavy stillness, like the air itself was waiting to see what would happen next. I sat on my front porch with a blanket wrapped around my shoulders, staring out at the streetlight flickering in front of my house. The same house my son once called his home. The same porch where I used to wait up for him when he was little, when he'd come home late from playing ball or sneaking candy from the corner store. Now I sat there waiting again. But this time, not as a mother hoping. This time, as a woman who finally knew the truth. The screen door creaked, and out stepped Miss Geraldine from next door. That woman's got better hearing than a hound dog and a heart just as big. She carried 2 cups of sweet tea, her robe wrapped tight and slippers dragging softly across my porch floor. "I figured you'd still be up," she said, handing me one. I took it, even though my hands were trembling. "Ain't much sleep in me tonight." She said, settling into the chair beside me. "That boy came by again earlier. Looked like he'd been crying. I didn't respond right away. I just kept watching the light, listening to the bugs hum. Then I said, he's got reason to cry. But he brought it on himself." Geraldine didn't press. She just nodded slow. "That girl, she really did all that?" "She sure did," I said, voice cracking. "And he let her." Earlier that evening, I finally found out everything. Not rumors. Not suspicions. The truth. Tasha, the same daughter-in-law I once called my own, had been pocketing money from my late husband's insurance payout. That money was supposed to help with my health bills, the house upkeep, little things that helped me stay afloat. Instead, she'd been using my son's name to transfer portions of it into her own account. 4 months. And when I caught it, she didn't deny it. She laughed. Said, "You got more than you need anyway. We're just taking what's ours." I stood there, holding that bank printout, my chest burning like fire. "Yours?" I asked her. "You mean to tell me stealing from family feels right to you?" And she said, "Don't act holy, Mama Evelyn. You always thought you were better than me. Maybe this evens it out." That right there, it wasn't just the money. It was the hate in her voice. The kind of hate that's been simmering long before tonight. My son walked in halfway through, trying to calm her down, saying, "Baby, don't say that," but the way his eyes darted told me he already knew. He just didn't have the spine to stop her. So I told them both, "You've got 1 hour to pack up and leave. I'm done." They laughed at first. Thought I was bluffing. But I wasn't. Geraldine sipped her tea. "You finally changed them locks, huh?" I said. "Right after they left." "Good. I was wondering what took you so long. Sometimes peace don't come till you stop letting chaos inside your door." I smiled a little. That's the truth if I ever heard it. We sat there quiet for a while, listening to the wind. Then my phone buzzed in my lap. It was him. My boy. Marcus. The name alone made my stomach twist. I didn't want to answer. But something in me, maybe that old mother's hope, made me press it anyway. "Ma," he said, his voice heavy. "Please. I just need to talk." I didn't say anything at first. Just breathed. "Ma, I know you mad. I know I let her get in my head. But I swear, I didn't know how bad it got. I didn't know she was taking that money." "You did," I said softly. "You just didn't want to see it." He went quiet. Then he whispered, "I don't know what to do now." And Lord, that broke me a little. Because I could hear the little boy in his voice. Not the grown man who'd let me down, but the child who used to run into my arms when he scraped his knee. I said, "You start by taking responsibility. You start by marking it right." "She's gone," he said. "She packed and left. Said she ain't never coming back." I closed my eyes, felt the tears slide down my cheeks. "Then maybe that's the best thing she ever did for you." He sniffled on the other end. "Can I come home, Ma?" Now that question, that one sat heavy on my heart. Because a mother's heart always wants to say yes. But a woman's wisdom sometimes knows it's too soon. "Not tonight," I said. "You need to figure out who you are first. I'll always love you. But love don't mean letting you break me twice." He didn't argue. Just cried. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't cry with him. I just listened until the line went quiet. When I hung up, Geraldine reached over and squeezed my hand. You did the right thing. I hope so, I said. Feels like my heart's been split in two. She smiled sadly. That's what growth feels like, baby. It's just grief with a new name. We sat there until the porch light started buzzing with moths. Then Geraldine stood up, stretched her back, and said, You come by in the morning. I made some peach cobbler. Might not fix everything, but it sure don't hurt. I laughed, even through the ache. You always know the right medicine. She winked. Old women know a thing or two about heartbreak. After she left, I stayed out there a while longer. Watched the sky turn that deep blue before dawn. Watched the light fade in and out, like it couldn't decide whether to keep shining or give up. And I thought about my life. About the choices I made. The love I gave. The doors I kept open for too long. Then I whispered into the quiet. I forgive you, Marcus. But I won't forget what this taught me. Because forgiveness ain't the same as forgetting. Forgiveness is just the way I sleep at night without bitterness rotting my soul. A breeze swept through the porch, lifting the edge of my blanket. I stood, looked at the house that once held laughter, secrets, and pain, and for the first time in months, it felt mine again. Inside, I turned off the last light, set down my empty cup, and whispered to myself. Peace don't always knock. Sometimes you gotta change the locks to let it in. The sun wasn't even up yet when I heard it. Knock. 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 That steady kind of knocking that don't sound like a stranger's hand. It sounded like hesitation, like guilt dressed up in skin. At first, I thought I was Dreamine. I'd only drifted off a couple of hours ago, curled up on the couch after replaying that call with Marcus in my mind 100 times. But then I heard it again, louder, this time with a quiet tremble behind it. Knock. Knock. I sat up, heart thudding. The world outside still dark, only the faint pink of dawn pushing through my curtains. I pulled my robe tight, slipped on my slippers, and stood still for a moment, listening. It came again. Ma, it's me. My breath caught. It was Marcus. I walked to the door slowly, every step heavy with both love and disappointment. When I opened it, there he was, my boy, standing on that porch with swollen eyes and a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. His clothes were wrinkled, hair a mess, and shame all over his face like rain-soaked dust. Ma, he said, voice cracking. I didn't know where else to go. I looked at him a long time. The last few weeks had aged him. He wasn't the confident, careless man I saw standing behind Tasha. He looked like that lost little boy again, the one who used to climb into my bed after a bad dream. But some part of me still remembered the betrayal, the anger, the way he'd let her steal from me and say nothing. So I said quietly, You can come in, but just for now. He nodded, eyes low, and stepped inside. The house felt different with him in it again. His footsteps echoed memories. I could almost hear the laughter from years ago, the smell of pancakes on Saturday mornings, the way he'd chase the dog through the kitchen. He dropped his bag near the door and sat on the edge of the couch like he didn't belong there anymore. Truth is, he didn't. Not yet. I poured him some coffee, set it down on the table, and sat across from him. We didn't speak for a while. Just the sound of the ticking clock and the hum of the fridge filled the silence. Finally, I said, You sleep anywhere you want last night? He shook his head. I drove around. Tried calling Tasha. She blocked me. I nodded, no sympathy in my tone. Sounds about right. He looked up, eyes wet. I messed up, Ma. I should have protected you. I should have believed you when you said something wasn't right. That's true, I said plainly. He swallowed hard. I kept thinking she'd change. I kept hoping she just needed time, but she took everything. Even cleaned out my savings. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. She ain't the first woman to run off with a fool's money. But you can't let her run off with your soul, too. He laughed bitterly, rubbing his face. You always got away with words. That's called living, baby, I said softly. And living don't come cheap. A few minutes passed. Then he looked around the house, at the family pictures, the old clock, the curtains I'd had since before his daddy passed. I didn't realize how much I missed this place, he said quietly. That's what happens when you forget where you came from. He looked up at me, guilt written clear across his face. You still mad at me? I took a breath. Mad? No. Disappointed? Yeah. But anger don't build nothing. It just burns what's left. He nodded, sniffled, and then said, Can I stay here a few days, Ma? Just till I figure things out. Now, that right there, that question, felt like déjà vu. I'd been through too much to open my door just like that again. You can stay, I said slowly, but not for long. You help around the house, you pay what you can, and you don't bring no drama to my porch. I just cleaned my piece, and I plan on keeping it that way. His shoulders eased. Yes, I watched him take that first sip of coffee, and in that moment, I saw something shift behind his eyes. Something honest. Like the first real step toward manhood. The rest of the morning was quiet. He helped fix the leaky faucet in the kitchen, carried some boxes I couldn't lift, even swept the porch without me asking. It felt strange but peaceful, like we were both trying to find our rhythm again. Then around mid-morning, there came another knock at the door. This one was sharp. Angry. Marcus froze. I went to the window and peeked out, and my heart nearly dropped. Tasha. She was standing on my porch in that same black hoodie, hair wild, face twisted up like a storm about to break loose. Open the door, Evelyn, she shouted. You think you can turn my man against me? Marcus stood up behind me. Don't, Ma. I'll handle it. But before he could step outside, she started pounding harder. You think you can steal him from me now? After everything I did for this family? I swung the door open just enough to look her dead in the eye. Tasha, I said, calm but firm. Ain't nobody stole nothing. You did that yourself. She blinked, eyes wild. His mine. His. Not anymore, Marcus cut in, voice strong this time. You made your choice. You took everything, and you left me with nothing. Now you gotta live with it. Her lips trembled, and for the first time, she looked small. Lost. You'll regret this, she whispered. Both of you. Then she turned, stormed down the steps, and drove off like the devil himself was chasing her. I exhaled slow, the tension melting out of my shoulders. Marcus closed the door behind me, leaned against it, and whispered, I'm sorry you had to see that. I put my hand on his cheek, something I hadn't done since he was a boy. No, baby. I needed to. I needed to see you finally standing up for yourself. He closed his eyes, tears slipping out. I don't deserve you, Ma. I smiled softly. You my son. You ain't gotta deserve my love. Just don't waste it. That night, the sky was clear, full of stars. I sat out on the porch again, same spot as always, and Marcus joined me. We didn't talk much, didn't have to. The air between us was finally quiet, not heavy. He said after a while, Ma, I'm gonna find a job back in town. Get a place of my own. I want to make things right. I nodded. That's all I ever wanted to hear. He smiled, small, but real. And maybe one day, you can trust me again. I looked at him, my heart softening. Trust is like a garden, baby. You don't get it back overnight. But if you tend it right, it'll grow again. He nodded, and for the first time in months, I saw that light in his eyes, the one I thought was gone forever. That night, as the porch light flickered again, I whispered under my breath. Thank you, Lord. For letting me see my boy come home right this time. The world felt still again, but this time, it wasn't empty. It was peaceful. And peace, baby, peace ain't the absence of pain. It's the strength to live through it and still open your door when love finally knocks right. It's been 3 months since that morning. 3 months since my son came knocking on my door, looking like a man who'd lost everything but found a second chance. 3 months since Tasha disappeared from our lives for good. Sometimes the quiet still feels strange. After years of chaos, silence can sound like guilt if you ain't careful. But I've learned to let the stillness speak. And it's been whispering truth back to me, truth I tried not to see for a long time. Marcus stayed for about 2 weeks before he found a little apartment near downtown. Nothing fancy, but it was his. He got himself a job at the auto shop, started paying off debts, and every Sunday, without fail, he comes by for dinner. He brings flowers too, never the same kind twice. Says it reminds him to do better, to grow in new ways. And every time he steps through that door, I see a man instead of a broken boy. You know, it's a strange thing, how life will tear you apart just to show you what you're really made of. Last Sunday, he came by early. I was just finishing my sweet potato pie when he knocked. But this knock, this one didn't sound like sorrow. It sounded like home. "Ma," he said with that grin I hadn't seen in years, "you're gonna be proud of me." He pulled out an envelope from his pocket and handed it over. Inside was a money order, enough to cover the money Tasha had stolen. My heart stopped for a second. "Marcus, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," he said quickly. "It's not about the money. It's about what it meant. You trusted me, and I let you down. This is me setting it right." I stared at him, tears prickling my eyes. "You can't buy forgiveness, baby." He smiled. "I ain't trying to buy it, Ma. I'm earning it." And that right there, that's when I realized something powerful. Forgiveness ain't about who deserves it. It's about who needs it to move forward. That night, after he left, I sat out on the porch like I always do, the same spot where all this started. The porch light flickered again, old, tired, but still working. Kinda like me. I leaned back in that creaky chair and thought about everything that happened. The betrayal. The lies. The fear. And that one unforgettable moment burned into my memory. My daughter-in-law screaming and cursing outside my door. Me, standing there after changing my locks, finally taking my piece back. Then my son showing up, furious, with a crowbar in his hand. But what happened next left them both speechless, because strength don't always come with noise. Sometimes, strength just stands there, quiet and unshaken, and lets the truth speak for itself. That's the part they never see in the movies. The power of a woman saying, "No more." A few days after that night, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name, written in handwriting I recognized but didn't want to. It was from Tasha. I sat there at my kitchen table for a long time, staring at that envelope. Part of me wanted to toss it straight into the trash. But another part, the part that's seen too many years to run from closure, told me to open it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Short. Simple. "Evelyn. You were right about me. I got lost somewhere along the way. Marcus didn't deserve what I did to him, or to you. But you were the first woman who ever stood up to me without hatred. I hated you for that. Now I understand it was because you weren't fighting me, you were fighting for peace. Maybe one day, I'll find mine too. No apology, not really. But there was honesty. And at my age, I'll take honesty over perfection any day." I folded that letter, slid it into my Bible, right between Psalms 91 and Proverbs 31. Not as a wound, but as a reminder. Because every scar tells a story, and mine says, I survived. That night, I slept like a child for the first time in months. A week later, Marcus brought me a surprise. He'd repainted my porch, replaced that flickering light, and even built a small flower box right by the steps. When he finished, he said, "You always said this house had a heartbeat, Ma." I wanted to help it breathe again. I laughed, though my eyes were wet. "Baby, this house ain't the only thing breathin' again." He grinned. "Guess that means we both still got some life left." We sat out there together, watching the sun dip below the trees, and for once, the silence between us didn't carry pain. It carried peace. Peace that comes from the kind of forgiveness that don't need words, just presence. Sometimes I wonder where Tasha ended up. If she's found a place to lay her head at night, or if she's still running from the sound of her own choices. But I don't wish her harm. I just hope she finds what she kept trying to steal from others, love that ain't built on lies. Because here's what life taught me. Betrayal don't kill love, it reveals it. Shows you what was real, and what was never yours to begin with. Tonight, as I sit here on this same porch, with the new light glowing soft and gold above me, I can feel my soul exhale. The world's quiet. The air smells like rain coming. And for the first time in a long time, I ain't afraid of what tomorrow brings. Because love, real love, ain't about who stays or who leaves. It's about what's left behind when the noise is gone. And what's left behind right now is peace. So if you're listening to this, and life done dragged you through your own kind of storm, don't you give up. Don't let bitterness make a home where your heart's supposed to heal. You don't always get justice. But you can always get peace if you stop opening the door to pain that's already shown you its face. If you're still here with me, baby, please like, subscribe, and share this story. And in the comments, tell me something you've learned to let go of. You never know, your words might help somebody else find their peace too. Because the truth is, we don't always get to choose who betrays us. But we sure do get to choose who we become after. And as for me, Evelyn Brown, I chose peace. Every single day.